Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this week's webinar. Today I will be making a summary of two of the main concepts that you have learned during the last lessons, activity life cycle and audio playback. Please feel free to post your questions in the chat anytime. I will be answering them at the end of my presentation. I will share my screen with you. Okay, let's talk about activity life cycle and activity audio playback. First, activity life cycle. As an Android developer, it is very important for you to understand what is happening behind the scenes of the activities. This diagram represents the activity life cycle. As a user navigates through, out of, and back to your app, the activity instances in your app transition through different states in their life cycle. As you can see, the first of the methods that are called is onCreate. This is called when the activity is first created. This is where you should do all your normal static setup, create views, bin data, to list, etc. This method also provides you with a bundle containing the activities previously frozen state, if there is one. And then we have the next method that is onStart. This is called when the activity is becoming visible to the user, followed by onResume. OnResume is called when the activity will start interacting with the user. So at this point, your activity is the top of the activity stack. And it's always followed by onPause. So onPause is part of the activity life cycle as well. Please notice that after onResume, the activity will be active, will be running, and onPause will only happen when the activity is no longer active. That means another activity comes into the foreground, or you have, or the user have paused the activity. And after onPause, it comes onStop. This method is called when you are no longer visible to the user, when the app is no longer visible for the user. After onStop, it will come onDestroy. This is called, or will happen either because the activity is finished or because the system temporarily destroy the instance of the activity to save space. This is very important to remember because when you are managing different resources in an app, onDestroy can be called in order to liberate some of the memory of the mobile device. So it's just something to keep in mind. Another method is onRestart. This is called after your activity has been stopped. It's always followed by onStart. That's why it's called a cycle. So let's make a summary of these important methods. When the activity starts, first loads the events as follows: onCreate, then onStart, and then on resume. If you switch to another app or another service, let's say that you are making a call, the activity goes to the background, and then the on pause and then the on stop methods are called. When you finish using the other app or you finish your call, the events on restart, then on start and on resume will be called. So this is very, very interesting. When you click the back button or you finish the activity, the on pause, the on stop, and on destroy will be called in that order. I know this is very, very interesting, but it's also too much information. You can find more information and more details in the Android documentation. Also, a shorter version of this diagram is available in lesson 8, part 19. Good. What is very interesting is how Android coordinates activities. When one activity starts another, they both experience life cycle transitions. The first activity stops operating and enters the pause or stop state, while the other activity is created. In order of life cycle callbacks is very well defined, particularly when the two activities are in the same process, in the same app, and one is starting another. Here's the order of the operations that occur when activity A, that is in the left, starts the activity B. First, the activity A is in pause when this method executes because the activity B is created, and that's why the activity B will start on create, on start, and on resume, because it will become active. Then, if the activity A is no longer visible on the screen, the method on stop will execute. This is very organized and is like the predictable sequence of life cycle that allows you to manage the transition of information from one activity to another. Pretty cool. Okay, now let's talk about the audio playback. The audio is also, it has also a cycle, and we need to understand how to manage it in order to develop successful applications. First of all, we'll be using the media player class to control playback or audio videos in streams. We will also need the audio manager class, which provides access to volume and ringer mode control. Even if we include the media player class, we will need an audio manager class to manage the life cycle of the media we want to reproduce. So, two important things happen when we include a media file in our app. First, it is necessary to request the audio focus using the method with the same name, request audio focus. The reason you will need to make this request is because there are many other apps that could be using the audio at the moment. At the moment you are trying to reproduce the media in your app. For example, it can be ringing an alarm, or you have a music app going on, or a text message app, etc. Then the number 2, after you gain the audio focus, you will need to manage any possible changes using the on audio focus change method. It's also a very intuitive name. The focus change value indicates whether the focus was gained or whether the focus was lost. And also, we can manage different constants for this value. The first one is audio focus gain. This is used to indicate a gain of audio focus or request or audio focus or unknown duration. The second is audio focus loss. This is used to indicate a loss of audio focus of unknown duration. Then we have audio focus loss transient. This is used to indicate when the audio is lost. And then we have another very interesting, that is audio focus loss transient canned up. This can be used to indicate that a transient loss of audio focus can be just lower. Like for example, if you are executing your media and in that moment you are receiving a call, for example, your app, your media and your app will not lose the focus. Instead, it will be playing in the background, but using or setting in a lower volume. That's what it means. Okay. So again, as with the activity life cycle, if you want to know more details about each one of the different constants that you can manage for the audio focus, I would recommend for you to visit the Android documentation. I will share with you these slides, and you can see the end, the last slide contains information about some resources that you can find interesting in order to increase your knowledge about these topics. Okay, now, one thing to consider is if you are developing your app with support for new Android versions, the request audio focus has suffered some changes in the APA 26. Before this version, we needed to make the call to this method specifying the stream type, duration, and audio manager object, like is in the screen. So we needed to provide 3 different parameters. But starting in the same, here is an example. Actually, this is the way you are using the request audio focus for the exercise of the MiWalk app. So if you see, here we are setting this method specifying the audio focus change listener, the stream music in the audio manager, and also the audio focus gain transient. And that is relevant because if you are having some notifications, some warnings, this is the reason. This method has suffered some changes in the APA 26. So how the method will be structured now? Well, in your recent projects, you can now specify only one parameter, focus request object. And here's an example from the Android documentation. As you can see, first, it is created an audio manager object. Then the attributes of the playback are specified. Using those attributes, we can create a focus request object. And then we can use that object in the request audio focus. So you can manage your code as you prefer. However, as an Android developer, it is very important for you to be knowledgeable about these kind of changes. I know there is a lot of new information to handle, but I would recommend for you to review the documentation and try by your own to implement the request audio focus added in this APA, the 26. If you try to use the newest methods, it will be easier for you to adapt in the future. Remember that mobile devices change frequently, so the applications must be always adapting to new changes. Okay, that's all I have for now. It is time for questions and answers. Please use the chat to ask anything related to this topic, or maybe something that you would like to know related to past projects, or anything really about Android. Okay, I will open the chat. Let's see. Okay, I don't see any questions. I will wait some minutes. Maybe somebody is typing right now. And remember, anytime you can also post your questions in the Slack channel, and you can also direct me if you don't like too much to post questions for the public channel. That is fine too. Okay. Remember, you can also book a one-on-one call if you need help with your projects, or you have pretty much any questions about the course. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, and see you in the Slack channel, okay? Have a good night.